Well, hello, everybody. Good to see you all again.
Hey, good to see you, Roger. Hey,
hello, Melody. Hello, Lance. And hello, Scott.
Hello, Roger.
So what we're going to do, folks, is we're just going to take you through an overview of our 5-day intensive that's happening in New York. We've got a open house on August the 17th at 7 p.m. And the open house is an introduction. We call this the Sacred Geometry Celebration because it is a celebration. And particularly that Thursday evening, we're going to have a few guests as well, but some wine and some finger food and just generally a get-together of the Sacred Geometry community. And then we're going to go into a 5-day intensive with our wonderful teachers here. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to give you an introduction to our 5-day Sacred Geometry intensive, and I'm going to hand it over to Scott to share his screen.
Okay. And so we're really delighted to be with you folks in August in New York, and our Sacred Geometry celebration. Roger mentioned the opening on the night of August 17th, the open house, but then we have a 5-day intensive workshop face-to-face, and we're really expecting to turn this into a wonderful event. Melody is going to begin by telling us a little bit about her, our background in the workshop that we recently gave.
Hello, everyone. It is really wonderful to celebrate the sacred geometry with all of you and all of us. So we started this journey in Academy of Sacred Geometry in March 12th till 26th of March with 3 intensive workshops. And it was about the nature's pure language, the sacred geometry mainly. And our main title is Sacred Geometry and the Transformation of Consciousness. So it was the first part of our workshop series, and this celebration in New York will be the second part, which will be the face-to-face. So our first workshop was Sacred Geometry and the Transformation of Conscious, and we deep dive in so many different things as Mother Nature is calling, which was totally connected with total immersion in nature's stones, plants, animals, and sacred geometric shapes. And we deep dive again with the Ageless Wisdom is Calling, which was total visualizing rhythms of nature, mandalas, musical harmonies, chanting of words, mantras, gematria, and secrets of numbers. And the third part was the Transformation is Calling, which was totally connected with the sacred geometric ratios, proportions, which lead the soul to the archetypal realm of numbers towards an experience of the one unity. So we deep dive about this workshop, especially which is totally linked to initiation in the ancient mystery schools. So it was 3-day Zoom workshop, and it is still in Academy of Sacred Geometry. So you can totally connect with Roger, and you can do this workshop by Zoom, by online. So this time we are coming to New York, all of us. Len, Scott, me, and Roger will be there face-to-face to make a new workshop, which is totally called Sacred Geometric Principles and the Ageless Wisdom, which is the main thing of this workshop, is a grand unification of the sciences, arts, and consciousness, and totally connected again with the initiation in the ancient mystery schools.
So what we'll be covering in this face-to-face workshops includes, but is not limited to, and this is going to be the big part for me, because over many, many years, I've been working on decoding Plato. Many people have made inroads into it, but nobody, to my knowledge, has come out who has really done it, and I think we can do it this time. So we're going to crack the code. We're going to uncover the underlying principles and the resulting golden mean number system that is central to the sciences, the arts, and consciousness. So we'll be looking at sacred geometric principles of nature, both in terms of biomimicry, ecology, and sustainability. That actually is one of Melody's kind of main areas. We will also be looking at the human body and the aesthetic canons of proportion, which Lance Harding is probably now the world's expert on canons of human proportion. Probably John Michel was previously, but now that he's passed away, in my book, is really Lance Harding is top dog. In terms of energetic transformation, that's a specialty of Melody's, and she will be helping us with that. With sacred measure, golden mandalas, and transformative experience, we'll be looking at the ancient Egyptians, the Chinese, the Hebrew Kabbalists, the Greeks, the Aztecs, and Florentine Renaissance artists and philosophers. We'll be doing a deep, deep look into the drawings and 3D geometric constructions, including Metatron's cube. I'll do my golden chalice of Orion. I'll show you that in a second. Felt's mystic Kabbalistic figure. Lance will be showing us the golden mandala, and we'll be actually doing some construction of Platonic and Archimedean and Catalan solids, and we'll be assembling a golden ruler. We will be focused on resonance and attunement for transformation of consciousness, which is really what sacred geometry is all about. It's a link back to the divine, and through resonance, it takes us back into these transformative experiences. We're really going to be looking at the real secret, the greatest philosophical question, in fact: how does the one become the many, and how do each of the many return back unto the one? So I guess I'll continue here. So again, the key points for me: the unveiling of Plato's secret doctrine, fully revealing the one and the indefinite dyad. You realize that Plato, as was Pythagoras, were initiates of the Egyptian and the Eleusinian mysteries, and it was forbidden by the Sodalian oath to reveal the secrets. Therefore, Plato had to give out an oral doctrine, the secret doctrine called the Agrapha Dogmata. We also will be looking at the significance of many biometric anomalies with the human body, but also of animals, etc., that lead to what we would call a grand unification of the sciences, arts, and consciousness. I'll be doing a little primer on abduction. Abduction, not abduction where an alien takes someone into the other world, but abduction is a form of reasoning. It's the logic of discovery. It's how Plato and the great creative thinkers would actually reason. It's actually moving upwards to the divine rather than down into the sensible world. And we're also going to be looking how this ubiquitous presence of the golden mean number system everywhere is now striking in all of the sciences. Quantum mechanics, whether we're talking quarks, chaos border, fine structure constant, DNA structure, cryptography, biometric measurements of skulls, cardiac anatomy. Phyllotaxis is leaf arrangement, genetics, cardiac anatomy, weather turbulence, planetary orbits and sizes, black holes, dark energy. I could go on and on and on. All of these are governed by the golden mean number system that we will be sharing with you here. And then the realization that the golden mean number system lies at the heart of aesthetics. Now, most people kind of have a sense of that. Many don't really realize how this permeates the sciences. But what we find is form, function, and performance, they all acquiesce into what Plato called truth, beauty, and goodness. Some of the related drawings I'll be sharing would be the golden rectangle with the golden chalice of Orion, I'll be showing that in a second. I already mentioned George Henry Felt's Star of Perfection, which I'll be showing you. We want to look at how the hexagram, pentagram, and septagram, the 5 and 6 and 7-sided solids, are involved in initiation and the transformation of consciousness. We'll also have a discussion I will have a discussion with Lance Harding, who actually really first introduced this deep insight into the geometric, harmonic, and arithmetic means, and how they're all related to the series of golden powers. And then I worked on that and came up with something that I think you'll find fascinating during our workshop. And a recognition again of what it means for the one to become many, and each of the many to return unto the one. So I'll also be working not only with my golden section book, Nature's Greatest Secret, but I'll be drawing on my book, A Grand Unification of the Sciences, Arts, and Consciousness, Rediscovering the Pythagorean Plato's Golden Mean Number System, that I wrote with 3 others, Zhuan He from China, El Nashi from Egypt, and also from Slovakia, one other. And here we're at the 2012 mini symposium on dark energy in Shanghai, China. Shortly, I'll be in Portugal and doing a workshop for the Esoteric Quest. I'll show you that title in a second. We're going to be honoring John Michel and Keith Critchlow, who were mentors of mine, as well as Lance Harding, and we will be bringing out a lot of their work in this workshop. This is actually the title page of what I'm going to be doing with Platonic principles in high medieval churches. Incredible insights that I've made. This will also be drawn into the aesthetics parts of what we'll be doing. And of course, many of you are familiar with the 5 Platonic solids, 3 of them which have the square root of 3, in other words, equilateral triangles. They're ruled by root 3. The cube is ruled by root 2. When you do a diagonal of the square, you get the square root of 2. But one that was always missing, and it was forbidden to reveal this, it was revealed actually in the ancient mystery schools in initiation, because the great secret had to do with the golden ratio or golden section. So it was absolutely forbidden. Even Plato could not reveal this in the Timaeus. Hippasus made the mistake of revealing it, and he was punished severely. He was put to death. Fortunately, he did it, so we have the record of it from the past. Actually, Plato starts the Timaeus with a very cryptic statement, 1, 2, 3, but where is the 4th, my dear Timaeus? There had been 4 people present the day before, and one of them is ill now, but this is Plato's way of giving clues. We know from the ancient writings that the 1 was related to the equilateral triangle, where all the sides are equal. 2 was related to the root 2 triangle, and then the root 3 triangle was number 3. But where is the 4th? Something is missing, and it has to do with the pentagon related to the dodecahedron, as we'll see. So Plato, again, makes a very interesting hint that many scholars have missed. These then, we assume to be the original of fire, earth, air, and water. In other words, the 4 of the elements that we've just seen, which are the root 2 and the root 3 triangles. But he says principles which are prior to thee, God only knows, and those humans who are friends of the deity. Anyone who can point out a more beautiful form than ours for the construction of these bodies shall carry off the palm, not as an enemy, but as a friend. He who disproves what we are saying and shows that we're mistaken may claim a friendly victory. Now, what I just discovered yesterday is, yes, the Timaeus was present in the Middle Ages because it had been translated back in the 4th century. However, it stopped at 53 C. These comments right here were not exoteric knowledge. This part of the Timaeus was not available. They had stopped it. This was part of the secret doctrine. That's what we're beginning to figure out. And that's why the secrets of how the cathedrals were built, we're having to infer it from the evidence. The secrets are no longer available. another thing to be very, very clear about, when Plato says, take a line, cut it unevenly in the divided line in the Republic, well, he's really speaking of the only way to cut a line such that the whole is to the longer is the longer is to the shorter, and that is in the golden cut. And in the end, the whole takes on the value of big phi, the greater form of the golden section, as we will teach you and show you, and its reciprocal, the lesser form of the golden section, identical, less one, and then unity or one becomes the geometric mean. So it's the greater, the big golden ratio is to one, in the same ratio as one is to the lesser golden ratio. And what we have then is the secret of the great mystery. What was Plato's second principle? We have uncovered it. I know exactly what it is, and it is at the heart of all the physics that is now coming out. Everything that we're hearing in physics right now is emerging in dark energy and dark matter. It's incredible. It all goes back to this simple secret of the one and the indefinite dyad. Here's the golden chalice of Orion. When you construct a golden rectangle, and we'll be doing this in class together, we find that with the big, the greater, and the lesser, so your big phi golden ratio, little phi golden ratio, square root of phi is this one here. And then this is 1/2 root 2. And by the way, these are all related to the gods. This one here is the god Hermes, by the way. Here is the god Apollo. Square root of 2 is the diagonal in here, and it's exact. These are not approximation. This is blows the mind away once you see how simple this is. And then the root 3, the other, is the diagonal right here. So we have everything composite right here in the mathematics that is ruling nature, but also aesthetics as well. And so we'll be looking at this construction here. Again, you see the golden rectangle here, but you extend the sides instead of just one, you now extend the side to the greater big phi and coming across here. And so you have a square that's whose sides are the greater golden ratio, but you also add unity over here. So you add one, that gives you the golden ratio squared. But here's what's interesting. Now that we have added one here on this edge, you do a slant right here, and you now have the semi-elevation. This is the internal structure of the Great Pyramid of Giza. This is the kind of energy that is in our cosmos that is giving us everything. So here it is right here, and this is just the beginning. But the main thing that I'm going to be focusing on my contribution is decoding Plato and making sure that you understand fully what's involved with Plato. So sacred principles and the ageless wisdom, and then the second part here we have melody. So Melody, you take over.
Melody, tell us a little bit about yourself, just to begin with, Melody. How did you get involved with sacred geometry to begin with?
Okay, firstly, I need to say, like, I have an internet connection problem, so maybe I will take off my video. So just let you know in advance. Right now it is working, I guess. So I am an architect, and I did my master degree on kinetic architecture, which is totally connected with bio-inspiration, bio-learning, and biomimicry. And to make ecologic consciousness, the kinetic is needed, because how nature is making is using the structure and function and performance. So I'm trying to find it into architecture. So that's why I did my master degree on that. And this science understanding really lead me to sacred geometry, how the nature is building up. So this is my main approach of sacred geometry, and which is connected with the art and science and consciousness, which is building up our human nature, I guess. And so this is really the background, and my fourth ground is totally connected with the sustainable and permacultural understanding of design and architecture again. So that's why like I'm searching for totally aligning with nature, understanding her principles and applying into the design. So this is my background, and
Great.
this
We'll switch over to the presentation if you like.
Okay, in this workshop, so we will focus mostly about the nature's genius by deep looking into her design processes using an art science approach. And this is to understand how she builds up synergetically from micro to macro, part to whole, and vice versa. So this is totally linked with how nature is building up synergetically. Is really important that we don't really see synergetic systems into our world right now. And as Scott has already mentioned, how the physics is totally changing into the idea of understanding this connection is the key point as for me from the Buckminster Fuller is synergetic structural system. So we will deep dive about these ones, especially in the workshop, which is connected with the part-whole relation and connected with the golden section. And we will deep dive also with meeting with nature, with our great mentors' teachings of life's principles from the fields of biomimicry, ecology, and sustainability. And I have totally did my sustainable design education from Global Eco Village Networks. So it is really the community that really live with nature and making the life principles into existence for 60 years. So we will talk about these ones also. And also we will deep dive about the geometry of space and time within the perspective of the form and function correlation, which is also connected with the performance. And we will also deep dive about the Qigong knowledge connected with our body and its movements in traditional Chinese wisdom. So we will talk about this ageless wisdom as well. And we will do some visualizations and experiencing our own unique self-expression through arts. So these are my main focus points. And these all related with what Scott Lenz will also put into in this workshop. We will do some hands-ons with all related subjects. And we will do some freehand drawings, analyzing nature's shapes and forms. And we will deep dive about the Metatrons cube and their relation with all life's building principles. And part to whole relation as in natural building up processes with individual intuitions and teamwork experiences. And we will do 3D constructions of Platonic and some Archimedean or Catalan solids. And we will also make golden rulers. So we will experience the golden section with really experiencing them. And we started our journey with Scott nearly from 2017, and for nearly 2 years he is really mentoring me, and we are deep diving into sacred geometry and especially the golden section. And this year we had a really wonderful chance to get together and make a workshop on nature's language in Peru with the children's, with the students, and with the artists. So this is a photo from that, and we totally connected with hands-on doing and really understanding the deep meaning of how nature is building up. So as you see, there are so many similarities and so many, how can I say this? Nature's main principles, life principles from micro to macro. So we will dive with the space, time, and geometry. So this is like a slide for me, which is connecting everything for me. That's why I would love to share this slide, from cell membrane to sacred geometry, from apple to sacred geometry, from universe to sacred geometry. So we will dive in them face to face. And as you see from here, there are always reasons and purposes how nature is building up. And this is also another photo that we see all these connections. And this is the Catalan and Platonic and Archimedean solids, and 9 of them. And this is also from the Buckminster Fuller's ideas of the Dymaxion map. And we will do some of these geometries in our workshops. And we will see so many differently how to manage a 2D understanding to 3D with different perspectives, different experiencing, and totally connected with our nature, with our earth, with our universe. So we will see all of them in our workshop. And Lance will highlight us with his wonderful drawings. So okay. I'm leaving to Lance.
Yeah, my goal is to teach some of the basic principles of ancient and sacred geometry, some of the original principles. I'm going to start out by talking about a figure referred to as the golden mandala, or the star cut diagram. It comes from a book by Tons Bruns called Secrets of Ancient Geometry and Its Use. And I'm going to focus a lot on his book because that diagram includes square root of 2, square root of 3, square root of 5, phi, and even ancient squared circle geometry is found within that diagram. And the geometry of the Great Pyramid. And I've also done some research on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem with archaeologist Garth Norman and astronomer John Pratt, who both passed away recently. And so I'd like to honor them and talk about some of the studies we did on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Now, I personally went through the Bible, studied all the descriptions in the Bible about the tabernacle of Moses and also Solomon's temple. And then when we were in Jerusalem, Garth and I came up with some ideas on the Temple Mount, and we discovered the Temple Mount is not only based on astronomy, but it's laid out according to the same geometry is found in the tabernacle of Moses and Solomon's temple. The whole Temple Mount is actually laid out geometrically. And we did a lot of research on that, so I'm going to get into that. I'm going to show how they were using the same geometry from this star cut diagram, the same geometry in Mesoamerica on the Aztec calendar stone, and also in ancient Egypt on the Zodiac of Dendera, which is in a room in the Louvre Museum in Paris. And they were also using the same cubit measurements in ancient Mesoamerica as they were in the ancient Far East and Egypt, and also in Mesopotamia. Garth Norman wrote a book called The Cubit Connection, which I'm going to talk about. And he showed how they were using the same cubits in both the Western and Eastern hemispheres, which proves that there were oceanic connections that connect the whole world, which is really quite interesting. I'm also going to talk about the Vitruvian Man, which I've done tons of research on, and how the Vitruvian Man is actually a symbol of rebirth. I'm going to talk about Leonardo da Vinci's drawing and other interpretations of the Vitruvian Man. There's 5 basic interpretations from Vitruvius' description of the man in the circle that I'm going to talk about. And in my drawing, I incorporated those 5 into one geometry in my drawing of the Vitruvian Man. I'm also going to talk about what I refer to as the creation formula, which is passed down by the ancient Masonic order and the Rosicrucianists. And that formula is simply square equals equilateral triangle pointing up plus equilateral triangle pointing down equals Star of David or Seal of Solomon, and that equals circle. And the square is 4 times 90 degrees in its corners. And the Star of David is 6 times 60 degrees, which is 360 degrees. And the circle is 360 degrees. So this ancient formula is the key to all the understanding of the symbolism of ancient geometry. And Scott just showed some pictures of me with the Prince of Wales. I studied at the Prince of Wales, the School of Architecture in London, which is then called the Visual Islamic and Traditional Arts Department with Professor Keith Critchlow. It's now called the Prince's Foundation School of Traditional Arts. And so I met all kinds of interesting people, including John Michel, John Neal, experts on ancient sites and ancient measurements, and of course, Keith Critchlow, who was into architecture and art and Islamic patterns and all kinds of things. And this picture here is me and Scott and Keith Critchlow and John Martineau, publisher of Wooden Books, in the train station in London on our way to Chartres Cathedral, where I also did research on the labyrinth in Chartres Cathedral and some other things. Anyway, I'm going to talk about the law of trinities related to the creation formula. That is the true, the good, and the beautiful, the light, the life, and the love, and metaphysics, aesthetics, and ethics. And then I'm going to talk about how that relates and how it can be used in art and different things. And I'm going to talk about the law of dualities. And that includes the law of opposites, the law of hierarchies, as above, so below, as in heaven, so on earth, and also the law of complements, male and female, harmony and melody and music. And those principles are all part of this law of dualities. And here's some drawings that show the golden mandala and how it's related to the 3, 4, 5 triangle proportions, all found through this figure. That's just one that I've drawn in. There's a whole bunch of them hidden in that geometry. And I'm going to talk about the Aztec calendar stone. This is the basic geometry of the Aztec calendar stone. I have 4 other drawings that show it in more detail, and it's a lot more complicated. And then the zodiac of Dendera, which is a star chart, actually. And it's also based on the same geometry. So that geometry that originated in Egypt was transferred to Mesoamerica, which proves oceanic connections. Then I'm going to talk about the creation of the male and female figures and the lost canon of Polyclitus. This is my Vitruvian Man drawing here. And I have golden section measurements on one side and fathom measurements on the other. This is the Vitruvian Man. It's also based on ancient squared circle geometry. And you can see the pentagon in there as well. It's based on the golden section. The golden section in this drawing, which is at the navel, the center of the circle, is a symbol of spiritual rebirth, because that's where the umbilicus was connected when you're given birth in the womb. So the circle represents the sacred womb, and the golden section represents the divine nature and the process of being reborn. The word Renaissance means a rebirth, and that's when Leonardo da Vinci did his drawing during the Renaissance. And I'm going to talk about that, and also the pi proportion. I used squared circle geometry in there too. And pi represents the perfect stature of the ideal man when you go from square to the circumference of a circle. So this drawing is related on both of those, as well as different golden section progressions and so on. I'm also going to talk about a base 12 golden section progression that I've been working on, some other golden section, and the 3 mean proportions and so on. You can see the little creation formula at the bottom of that drawing of the Vitruvian Man.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
The golden section is also found in that drawing, the Egyptian drawing. This drawing here is the first Egyptian canon, which was 18 units to the top of the head. And it's derived from this same golden mandala or golden star cut diagram of geometry. And you divide it into fractions using where the nodes are, where the lines cross and so on, into thirds, sixths, halves, quarters, and eighths, also fifths and tenths, and even sevenths. You can use that same geometry divided into 7 parts. And in this figure, you notice it's divided into 18 units from which is 3 times 6. It's divided into thirds first at the elbows and at the top of the knees. 6 units to the top of the knees, 6 more to the elbows, and 6 more to the top of the forehead. Okay, the crown is considered the 19th unit. And 19 and 18 relate to the geometry of the pentagon, actually, and I can talk about that. But you notice his navel is located at 11 units up and give you an 18 to 11 division, or anyway, that's the golden section progression, the original golden section progression of the Lucas numbers, 18 to 11 to 7. And it's found in the ancient Egyptian geometry as well as the ancient cubit measurements. And you'll notice how his arm follows the angle of the diagonal of the whole square there, and so on. Anyway, and then there's palm measurements on the left side, head forth measurements going across his head, and the fist measurement is the 18 unit measurement. And they're all based on a 3, 4, 5 relationship in ancient geometry.
Lance, let me add, we will be looking at the Lucas numbers, and this is so interesting because Lance has another drawing of another canon of proportion that's later, but this is the earliest. Now, what's bizarre is these are Lucas numbers, and Lucas numbers are very special. They're probably more special than Fibonacci that we will teach you. But they were only discovered presumably in the 19th century by Edouard Lucas, but the ancient Egyptians were using them, and this is their older canon of proportion. The newer canon of proportion uses Fibonacci numbers, which again is bizarre. Just wanted to add that in, Lance.
Yeah, I believe the ancient Egyptians knew all about the golden section. It was passed on. The Greek philosophers actually went and studied in Egypt, like Pythagoras, some of the philosophers.
And Plato.
Yeah, and Plato as well. And so all this geometry is really old. It goes back, 4,000 years, if you want to really talk about it. So anyway, I'm going to also talk about the geometry of the Great Pyramid, because it's based on ancient squared circle geometry. This is the same geometry from the star cut diagram and how it relates to the angles of even of the internal passages in the Great Pyramid that you can see there. And the red pyramid outline there is the cross section of from corner to corner of the Great Pyramid. And then that purple one in there is a 51-degree angle, which is the face angles of the Great Pyramid. And that's the golden section proportion triangles. But the angles of the corners of the Great Pyramid are actually an approximate 42-degree angle, which is 360 degrees divided by the golden section, 222 degrees. And you subtract 180 from that, and it's 42 degrees. And it's a very significant angle because that's the same angle as is found in the rainbow. When you stand with the sun behind you and look up to a rainbow to the color red, the brightest part of the rainbow, it's always a 42-degree angle. And the 51-degree angle from the Great Pyramid is the second arc of reflected light in a double rainbow. It's always a 51 to a 51.5-degree angle. So the question is, did the Egyptians know how light works? Those angles are found in the Great Pyramid. It's really kind of mysterious. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Then I'm going to go to the Greek canon of proportion. This is the canon statue by Polyclitus, referred to as the spear bearer. And this ancient canon of Polyclitus is laid out in equilateral triangles in the Star of David. And you can see two big circles there, one from the loins down, from his legs down, and one from the torso up to the top of his head, another Star of David. And the canon statue, all the ideal statues in ancient Greece were between 7 and 8 heads in height. This canon statue is exactly 7 heads in height. And it was planned that way significantly. And they even, I even found the angles that give the tilt of his head, the contrapposto position, and the tilt of his hips in this geometry. The ancient contrapposto positions found in ancient Greek statues. And I'm going to compare the same geometry to the Kabbalistic Hebrew and Jewish tree of life, because it's the same geometry. And so I did a drawing of that too. And I'm going to show how it's the same geometry that the ancient Greeks were using, that the ancient Hebrews and Jews were using, And it's the same geometry also. You can also find the Star of David in the star cut diagram. Okay, it's hidden in there too, the square root of 3 geometry in that diagram as well. And I'll point that out and so on. And a lot of people have studied the Kabbalistic tree of life, okay? And I'm going to talk about how that ties in with the law of trinities and the law of opposites and the true, the good, and the beautiful, and the light and the life and the love, and the different laws of the trinities and so on, or the metaphysics, ethics, aesthetics, and ethics. And so I'm going to talk about that compared with the Kabbalistic tree of life as well. But I'm going to stick to the basic principles and then have the people do some easy drawings to do based on the basic principles.
So I think that's our last slide.
Yeah.
Wonderful, guys. So, well, what can I say? It's going to be an incredible big meal with our intensive happening in New York. So that's great. Do you have anything, just some final words, guys, before we close up?
Well, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great experience to work with Scott and Melody and Roger and to travel in New York and right now I'm working on some archaeology and things in Utah. I'm going to be doing some work at the Hutchings Museum here in Lehi, Utah, which I may give them a tour down at a place called the Parowan Gap. It's an ancient site. It's kind of the Stonehenge of North America, the Parowan Gap. And
I
so
remember, Lance, 10 years ago, we were talking about trying to get a little tour together to go there. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
We might do that one day.
Yeah. Very interesting place. It's easy to get to, the Parowan Gap. It's just off Interstate Highway 15 in Utah.
It's one of the United States' best held secrets. It is stunning, absolutely.
Yeah, they were using the 260-day Mayan calendar at the
And Lance would be the one to guide us. The zipper glyph is the most.
Yeah. There's 2 archaeology sites in Utah where they were using the Mayan calendar and the 260-day calendar. So, and the other one's called Rochester Creek in the San Rafael Swell Desert.
Well, we'll hire a bus, a coach, and from New York, and we'll just drive across America, and we'll see you there, Lance.
Yeah, it's really an interesting place. We've made some new discoveries at the Parowan Gap. This giant sundagger shines through the gap on the morning of the summer solstice sunrise and moves across the West Desert, stops on this big boulder with a groove cut in it, and then this rock on top of the mountain lights up in line with that groove. It's like something out of an Indiana Jones movie. So,
wow. Well, we'll talk more about that in New York.
Yeah.
Final words, Melody?
Yes, we are really looking forward to be all together and to do this workshop by alive. And it is totally connected with the ageless wisdom and the ageless wisdom that is connected to our now principles. So, and this is really important, that art, science, and consciousness unification. So this is the main field that we want to open with the light. So looking forward to be with all of you.
And yeah, the good old-fashioned way. It's going to be a classroom, guys. It's not online. It's a classroom and practical as well, and just a lot of fun to be in Manhattan. Scott?
Well, I've been involved in a lot of presentations, workshops, lectures, PowerPoints, etc. This is kind of coming full circle. This is drawing together all the wisdom over the many, many cycles of time that I've been involved with, all the different esoteric quests, International Association of Near-Death Studies, Houston Smith and Religions, Edgar Mitchell, the astronaut, Anand, David Bohm, the physicist. We're going to take it all and put it together And this is going to be something incredible. And I guarantee you, if you come and you're interested in Plato, nobody will have done what we're going to do in terms of revealing what Plato truly, really is all about as the spokesperson of humanity. As H.P. Blavatsky said, he's a fifth rounder. He was coming from the future into the present. And that's why it's so incredible to find out what he was really thinking. And that's going to be brought out during this 5-day intensive workshop, and you're going to love it. Plus, we're going to be going out and visiting St. John's Cathedral, and we'll have the expert, one of them here, Lance Harding, is going to help us with that. We may have Steve Bass as well, the architect. But we're going to have a really, really good time. It'll be wonderful. And the camaraderie, working together, eating, lunching together, etc. It's a wonderful, wonderful event that Roger puts on each time whenever he does this. Looking forward to seeing you.
Well, thanks, guys. Anybody listening to this, you can email me info@academysacredgeometry.com, and I'll give you all the, the details. We do have an early booking discount by the 30th of June. So it's a good discount there. So get in before the 30th of June. And we do have a couple of scholarship spots together for under 30-year-olds. And if you email, I can give you a few more details about that. So, and that, if you can't make the 5-day event, definitely come along to the introduction evening on August the 17th. And if you are paying for the 5-day event, August the 17th, the introduction is included in that, right? So we're right in the midtown on 53rd Street on the east side, so it's very easy to get to with the train. So for those folks coming in out of town, you can easily just find hotels around there or whatever you've got in mind. But so it's all happening, 5-day intensive. This really is a unique experience with 3 amazing teachers. You're not going to get this anywhere else on this planet, believe me. So I'm really, really excited about it. So, so info at Academy Sacred Geometry, and we'll see you there. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, Roger.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you, Roger.